So a bunch of Star Wars Jedi Survivor gameplay came out today. I guess there's some kind of event, and a bunch of people were able to release a bunch of footage from it. So we have this video from Fextralife, Star Wars Jedi Survivor gameplay impressions. It's better than Fallen Order. We're going to check this out and see how this game looks like it's coming along. I actually didn't play the first one, but I watched people play the first one.
In the Star Wars Jedi Survivor hands-on and gameplay impressions video, we'll go over the exploration, combat, mounts, and more, and how Star Wars Jedi Survivor is an upgrade in every way, shape, and form when compared to Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh, and by the way, if you aren't aware, this actually comes out April 28th if you didn't see that. So this is coming up real soon if you're interested in this. I know I'm going to be playing it.
Thanks to EA and Respawn Entertainment, we had the opportunity to travel and participate in a hands-on preview for Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which releases on PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S on April 28th of this year. Note that all the video coverage in this video is taken from a work-in-progress build and might not be a representative of the final product. Star Wars Jedi Survivor picks up 5 years after the events of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and Cal has matured and persevered, and he'll continue to look for ways to rebel and survive and protect those he cares about against the Empire in increasingly bleak circumstances.
I mean, like as far as visuals look, it looks pretty similar, but I guess you kind of gotta limit it though because they want to have it on all the consoles too, and so then like that hard limits how far you can go with updated graphics.
His crew has been separated for reasons unknown, so Cal will have
but it still looks good
to do and hopefully find his crew and reunite with them. Like the first game, finding new equipment will not improve stats of your character of any kind. However, cosmetic improvements have received a
Wait, you can actually get a cosmetic of getting the like handlebar mustache? I didn't know that. Was that in the first one?
Huge upgrade when compared to Fallen Order. Rather than just getting new ponchos, there will be new different clothing like hats and bandanas, and you'll even be able to change Cal's facial features from beards to a goatee, or maybe you want to give Cal a mullet or a buzz cut with a mustache.
Okay, that's actually kind of fun. That is a fun little customization thing for sure.
For the lightsabers alone, there are many different blades, components, materials, and colors to choose from that make Cal quite unique to you. As expected, you'll need to explore and find cosmetic items on each planet, or you can trade them into Doma, the de facto mayor who sells cosmetics that the player can purchase with priorite shards.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I know a lot of people love this stuff, so I'm definitely like on the fringes here. I've never been a big fan of the cosmetics. Not that I think they're a bad thing. I'm just like down. My head's always down in the dirt, just looking at the nitty gritty of how the game's made. I'm always like there for the mechanics, just playing a game. You know what I mean? So, like, I always just get it. I ignore them all. I'm a default Andy, just all across the board usually. Like, it drives people nuts. I'd play, like, Overwatch or something. I'd always just have default skins. Play for, like, 2,000 hours. Just still have default skins on. Like, that's literally me.
You can find these shards by exploring every nook and cranny of the game. In the intro cinematic, the Mantis crashes and lands on Kobo, a huge planet that Cal will go back to often as you won't be able to access.
But do you see that? How it has, I guess it has one wing blown off and then still flies. I know this is unrelated, but I think this is really interesting. I've ever seen this thing before about like modern jets, and this one guy, 2 jets collided in the air in a training thing, and the one was like missing one of its wings, and it was still just like they have so much thrust and force that if the flap is all the way on the other wing, that he was actually able to stay level even though he only had one wing and was able to just come and land with one wing just because of the way jets are, which is actually really cool.
Huge planet that Cal will go back to often as you won't be able to access all the areas on the map until you acquire certain abilities.
But you won't be able to access areas on the map until you get certain abilities. So this is like an old school game in that sense. This is like a throwback to PlayStation 1 games where it's like, oh, I got the springy boots. Now I can get over this cliff and get to this next area. Now we can get to the third area or whatever. Like, it's kind of a modern version of that. That's kind of fun though. Honestly, that stuff is pretty fun.
Kobo is actually more of a home base for the player, and this is especially due to a town inside Kobo called Rambler's Reach. Inside the town, you'll find shops, NPCs, and even a bar where you'll find new NPCs that show up there every now and then. This kind of reminded me of the Souls series where you could revisit Firelink Shrine or the Central Hub with new dialogues and rewards after completing certain tasks or just simply progressing throughout the game.
Yeah, that's fun. It's always like, I'm always a big advocate of anything to fake making a dynamic world, just making it seem like it's dynamic. That always helps player retention. It makes the game way more fun to make it feel like the world's changing. Anything you can do to do that always is a big win in my book.
There's even a new rumor system in the game where you can talk to NPCs, which is more narrative focused and will help guide you along the way to places you should visit. Lastly, you can also recruit residents who can help improve Rambler's Reach by adding new shops, and you gain more rewards in the process.
Oh, that sounds fun. You can recruit residents to improve it. Like, I'm not really sure the exact details of that, but that does sound very fun just at face value.
As you meet these NPCs throughout the planet, some will give you side quests, which really stand out in comparison to Jedi Fallen Order, where there were literally no side quests in the game. Touching briefly on the side quests, you'll be rewarded with either a cosmetic, skill points, perks, more story, recruiting people to improve Rambler's outpost, etc.
Okay, that's fun. You get skill points, get more people to improve your like home base basically and stuff. And it makes more sense that they said there were no side quests in the original. Just the premise of the original didn't really leave much room for side quests. Like it would have felt forced from what I saw in the first one, because the first one was like you're just trying to survive almost, or at least for the first part of the story. Whereas this one, it's more of like you've got your footing now, and now you're on this adventure where you are stable almost. You're in a stable environment. You know, that's what it seems like, at least to some degree compared to the first one, which then from a development standpoint allows side quests to be in the game without having it feel forced. So I think that's, I don't know, it all just works out.
What's more is that new shops will open up as you progress throughout the game, so you'll want to come back to Rambler's Reach often. Jedi Chamber Rooms are a welcome addition to exploring each planet. Basically, they're like shrines in Breath of the Wild. Each chamber room is basically a puzzle that you need to solve.
That'll be fun.
You're rewarded with a perk, and there are many to acquire throughout the game. You'll need to use...
I wonder what he meant by a perk. I wonder what perks are. But this will be fun. This makes the game way more fun. That's going to be really good.
Use the Force and think carefully in order to solve each puzzle. I can see players spending a lot of time finding every chamber room, and then taking even more time to make your way through each one of them. Force tears will put your agility and hand-eye coordination skills to the test. I found a force tear that was hidden in a cave. As soon as I entered the tear, a timer started and I was off to the races. I had to jump from one platform to another. There were two catches, though.
Platformer.
Some of the platforms were crumbling as soon as you jumped on them, but the even bigger catch was that there was a massive laser wall that comes your way, and if you run or jump into it, you have to start the tear over again.
That'll be fun. For me, that's like, the puzzles are fun, but the parkour ones are always even more fun to me. But they're both going to be fun. That is really cool, though, because like if you are someone who likes puzzles, you will do the puzzle ones and ignore the other ones. If you're someone who doesn't like puzzles and likes the parkour challenges, you can do them and then ignore the other ones to some degree. Or if you're someone who likes it all, you'll just do it all. Like, I don't know. It's honestly good game design, though. That actually looks really fun.
Furthermore, every time you jumped, the laser wall would switch over to the other side, so you had to be careful with the timing of your jumps.
Oh, that's fun.
At first, I thought the timer was important, but it really only served as a competitive way to beat my fastest time. Once I completed the challenge, I was awarded a skill point.
It's a little bit sad that the timer doesn't mean anything. I always liked the thing where it's like, all right, if you get under a certain time, you get the best reward. But, you know, it's fine either way. I mean, the fun part is doing the challenge.
When I spoke to the developers, they made it very clear that Jedi Survivor is vastly larger than Jedi Fallen Order.
That's good.
This is due to the fact that the developers can solely focus on PS5 and Xbox Series X and S. This is huge considering that load times will be much faster, as well as the game getting a
Man, that does look really good, though. Like, I guess since they're not doing old last-gen consoles, they're still able to have it look really good, because they can do PS5 and stuff. Like, this looks really good in this area.
More enemies, bigger planets, etc. The first game had 7 planets, but only 5 of them could be fully explored. While I'm unsure of how many planets there are in the sequel, there are at least 7 of them, and there are many places to explore, more rewards, new challenges, and a lot more.
Sounds like there's going to be like only slightly more planets, but the planets themselves are going to have a much larger area to explore, which makes sense from a game development standpoint, because like when you're already on one style, you have all these assets that match, like this place, for example. You have these certain styles of trees, certain styles of building parts, and the rocks and all these things, these assets that you have. When you go to a new planet, you got to like say you have a lava world, everything's got to be redone to look that style. So it's much better to have less planets with bigger areas than to have multiple, like many planets with smaller areas. From a development standpoint, it's actually easier and faster to do it that way, and it's better for the player then because they get more content, basically.
They did not give me an estimated amount of hours it will take to complete the game, but I think it's safe to say that you'll at least double the amount of time that you put into Fallen Order.
I don't know how long it took for Fallen Order. I'm just going to assume like 20 to 40 for a casual player, but I don't know.
It's also important to note that the developers made it clear that Jedi Survivor
for the second
is not an open world game, but rather I was told that each planet is better defined as an open area. You'll be able to go off the beaten path, and you will typically be rewarded for doing so, so you may be better off treating Jedi Survivor as an open world game, even if it is technically an open area game.
Okay, so yeah, it's like a linear game, but with side paths. Kind of like how God of War was, but a little bit more open, maybe. So, you know, I don't know how to explain it. That style, though, where you're basically on rails, but there's lots of side areas to explore. That's also fine. I mean, open world is usually the most fun, but this also
I
works.
really don't see this as a problem, especially because they made it much easier to navigate and make your way throughout each planet. Although you'll still be jumping around a lot, doing plenty of wall running and climbing, you will also have the grappling hook, aka Ascension Cable, which certainly does make it easier at times. However, there are designated locations where you can use it, and you will be notified on screen when you are within reach.
This looks
This
so
will help
good.
immensely, and also open up more possibilities of exploration in the game, which also
Dude, look at that scenery, man. That actually does look really beautiful. I'm actually like excited just for the visuals of this game.
adds additional challenges when you're in the chamber rooms. The map additions have also improved greatly. While exploring, I was able to use the new BD visor, which then enabled me to use the BD binoculars, where you can place specific beacons to keep track of everything you're doing and where you want to go. The improved interactive holomap UI will also help you find places that you didn't know you were able to explore, and it makes it much easier to make your way through the planets, which was not the case in the first game.
I have mixed feelings on that. Like, that's good and bad. Sometimes it's better to have it to where it's like you can get lost and not know where you're going. But also, if you design the levels poorly, it's a disaster then. And like, oh god. So I don't know. It just depends on how it's implemented. But sometimes it takes the fun away if it's too obvious. If it's just like, here's where, like, the example was Forspoken, and it literally showed you where every single treasure chest was. Every single thing was on the map marked. And so you didn't feel like it was an open world, but it might as well not have been an open world because there was no exploring. You just know where everything is. There's no point, you know what I mean? So I don't know. It seems like they'll probably do fine though, but we'll see.
Mounted Creatures is a new addition to the Star Wars Jedi series. And
We got
it's a huge
mounts.
one. You'll be able to travel
Is this basically the Star Wars version of a chocobo?
faster with a creature like Neko, the bipedal creature that Cal tames to ride
I love how derpy its legs look when it runs. Just look at its legs.
around the environment.
Looks
Then
so
there's
derpy.
Belter, a flyer that Cal can tame to soar through the skies. You can also jump with certain creatures to get to higher heights in the game, and you can even do mounted combat. In short, this edition alone is a game changer. And
Yeah, that's
finally,
fun.
for traveling improvements, you can now fast travel, which is available by traveling to mediation points in the game, a very big win for Respawn. When it comes to combat, the good
Yeah, that
news
sounds
is
good.
that you will not have to start from scratch with Cal, as he will start with the 3 stances he learned from the first game, including dual sabers that Cal used at the end, but he didn't really have it as a stance. Regardless, this addresses a concern brought up by many fans who did not want to learn everything all over again. Of course, I decided to use dual sabers most of the way through the demo, especially when facing enemies one-on-one. Using dual sabers is a very aggressive playstyle that may make you vulnerable at times if you're having a difficult time blocking and parrying attacks. There is a high skill ceiling though, so you can dominate more as you hone your craft and focus on the dual saber skill tree. The other 2 stances that I
That's fun. I do like that combat looks decently fun.
did not have a chance to use were Crossguard, a powerful, deliberate stance that allows you to deal massive damage at the cost of long wind-up times, and Blaster, a stance that allows Cal to deal with long-range foes by using the Blaster. As for your Force abilities, you'll start with Push, Pull, Slow, and Force Confusion. For Push, you'll now be able to push enemies off precarious ledges, which is truly a delight in and of itself.
Oh, could you not do that in the old one? That is really nice that they added it then. That's always upsetting when you can't. I always love pushing enemies off ledges. That was one of those fun things in Elden Ring.
Slow is a force power that Cal can use to slow down enemies around him, which is great when fighting a host of enemies or a really tough boss or opponent. Force Confusion adds a whole new element to the game where you can turn enemies against each other. This comes in really
Oh, that's
handy when
fun.
you confuse big creatures who can take out anyone in their path.
That's
also
good.
Plenty of
That's
interesting
good.
enemies in this game. Among them are the new humanoids like Zeke, the Bedlam Raider boss that you fight right before entering the cantina. For the droids, you have B1 and B2, the BX droid Commando, who if I'm not mistaken can also do jump attacks off walls, and then there's also the scavenger droid, which if you chase down and slay it before it gets away will all.
Whoa, what were those little animals? Look at those little animals.
And then there's also the scavenger droid.
What was going on there? What is this interaction?
Chase down and slay it before it gets
I
away.
love the way
will
they hopped
also give you
away.
rewards.
Oh, that's like the little loot goblin guy from Diablo or whatever. There's so many games that have that. Even Lost Ark had that mechanic to be like the randomly find the guy, if you little thing that runs away, and if you kill him, he drops money. That's like an old concept. That's been around for a long
For
time.
new creatures, Mogu really stood out to me. He looks like a big gorilla who just loves to slam you into the ground. However, press the X button fast enough before he slams you, and you'll cut his arm right off.
That's
Dismemberment
fun,
in
man.
the game is also a new feature added that certainly adds more depth to combat and is just awesome. Mogu also likes to throw scout troopers at you, so beware. I then had a blast facing a boss earlier on in
That
the
looks
demo,
fun.
the Ranker. The big troll-like boss you might remember from movies ate me up, spat me out, ran
Oh, this one's a real boss. The other one he was showing was like a side thing, like just a little mini boss. This one has an actual bar at the top and a
me
name.
over and knocked me down with
Or
his
maybe
favorite
that, yeah,
attacks.
yeah.
I started the demo on the Jedi Master difficulty, so taking Ranker down was no easy task. In fact, I never beat him. He sometimes took me down in one single hit. I even had one of the developers tap my shoulder and encourage me to maybe take the difficulty down a notch so that I could finish the demo in time. I later discovered that no one had beaten Ranker on the Jedi Master difficulty.
What? Are you kidding? How much time did they have? Okay. If they only had like 3 hours, okay, I understand. Like, I remember one time in Elden Ring, I was trying to make a certain video when the game was really new, and I was super under level because I was so busy making videos, I didn't have time to actually really play the game much. And I ended up somehow getting to Mog the Lord of Blood when I was like, I had like no HP, I had like 4 flasks, and the way it worked out was, and I didn't know I could leave. I didn't know how to leave. I thought I had to beat him to leave. I didn't know that on the map, you press in your thumbstick, and then suddenly you can see the normal world. I didn't know that. So I thought I had to beat Mog. And I was like, I don't even know. I think I still had like the wooden club. I think that's literally, I was wretched or whatever, the one where you don't have anything at the start. And I was barely leveled, and I had like nothing. And I remember because of he has that attack where he like, no matter it hits you 3 times, that would eat all my flasks. So I basically had to no-hit Mog the Lord of Blood. I think I could hit like 1 time during the whole fight, and that was all I had health for. And I was stuck there for, I think, 3 to 4 hours, just so fierce. I thought I was stuck, and I needed to go make a video, and I was so upset. And only afterwards I found I could just leave. But it was like, okay, I don't know how long these guys had, but I feel like if you have like 3 to 4 hours, like surely you can just do it. I mean, eventually you can get the no-hit, right? Like, I don't know, maybe they only had like an hour or 2.
I was only a couple of blows away at one point, but then I decided to move on and take the developer's advice. By the time everyone reached the end of the demo, we were given a special presentation of all the stances and abilities that Cal will have by the end of the game, and let me tell you, everyone in the room was impressed. It seems very clear that once you master your abilities, you'll be able to dominate and take out many enemies with ease. I was also told by the devs that while you can go back and forth between 2 stances throughout the game, you can also decide to only focus on one stance, upgrade all of its skills, and finish the game that way if you...
That's me. That's what I do, dude. I was the person who, when I played Pokemon, I would just take the starter, and I'd run it all the way to the Pokemon League. It'd be like level 75 or something, or 80 by the Pokemon League, and beat the game. That is me. I am that guy.
So, those looking forward to Jedi Survivor should rest easy. Though I do still have a couple of gripes, including the fact that gear is only cosmetic and doesn't provide any stat value to the player, making exploration not as interesting, and the fact that you can only use the grappling hook in certain places instead of at will, the game is shaping up to be something solid.
Wait, he get like experience? I want to see that. Look at the top of the screen. What was that popped up? That looks like experience. Maybe. Okay, so we get experience of killing enemies. I wonder if enemies respawn and there's gonna be like farming spots, or if it's just like there's a limited number of enemies in the entire game, so you gotta explore everything to get all your skills. I wonder.
The game is shaping up to be something solid. Respawn Entertainment clearly listened to their fans by making much-needed improvements and rectifying some of the annoyances in Fallen Order. In short, Jedi Survivor is bigger, better, darker, and far more rewarding than its predecessor.
All right, so I want to say about the combat. The combat actually looks really good. It looks like their own version, and I know everyone hates having every game compared to Elden Ring, but I feel like it's the gold standard. I mean, they did everything. They did it right in what they were doing. Having the combat be like, I don't know how the first one was, but having the combat be the way this one is, where it's pretty skill based. There's like parrying, blocking, dodging. The enemies are flipping around depending on what enemy it is and stuff. They're doing all this complicated stuff. Some enemies looked really easy, but same thing was in Elden Ring. Some enemies just walk up to you and swing, you know what I mean? But some enemies are doing crazy stuff, just like Elden Ring. That's fun. That is always fun. I don't care if you're good at a game or bad at a game, it still makes it fun. Like, even if you're playing on easy, so that way they don't really hurt you very much, and they don't have a lot of health then, it's still fun when they're, you know, doing crazy stuff. It's exciting. You're like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. Like, whoa, look at it. Like, I can't believe you did that thing. Like, that's really good.
Come April 28th, I know what I'll be doing, and hopefully I'll be having a blast doing it. So what are your guys' thoughts on Jedi Survivor after seeing more gameplay of it? Are you guys excited for it? Did you like Fallen Order? I thought Fallen Order was a step in the right direction for the Star Wars franchise after many disappointing games, and I think Survivor is going to be even better than that. Let us know what you think in the comments below.
Yeah, I think that it looks really, really fun. So this video, real fast, so this video was Star Wars Jedi Survivor gameplay impressions. It's better than Fallen Order by Fextralife. So I'll link this in the description, and you guys can go there and give it a like, whatever. It was a really good video, honestly. It was the one I picked. There were multiple videos from gameplay. This one was like the best looking one. But yeah, so that was good, man. I think it's gonna be fun. It's coming out on the 28th of April. I think the schedule for me is gonna be that, and then Tears of the Kingdom for Switch. So I'm probably gonna be playing this all the way till Tears of the Kingdom comes out. This is gonna be like literally the game that I'm playing for a week or two or whatever it is until I forget. I think Tears of the Kingdom comes out like I don't remember May 6th, May 9th, May 12th. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, it looks good. The combat looks good. The combat looks really, really fun, honestly, and the graphics look really good. Look really, really good. And then I assume the story will be decent. It just depends. If you're into Star Wars as like a franchise, the story will probably be really good then to you. I don't know. Overall, looks good. My first impression on this is just that it's going to be a good game. I think it'll be really, really good. April 28th it comes out, and I'm really looking forward to not only playing it, but also covering it on this channel.